You see all the van life photos, you watch all the van tours, but do you wonder what this nomadic lifestyle is all about? Are you curious about life on the road? Social media calls it #vanlife. We call it home. I'll ask 10 questions to get you the stories that you want to hear from the people who live, work, and travel and adventure in this nomadic lifestyle. Welcome to Life on the Road. All right. Welcome to another episode of Life on the Road, where I ask 10 questions to get you the stories that you want to hear from her Life on the Road. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
My de facto line, and everybody makes fun of me, is this is amazing. I say it every show.
It is, though.
It is, though, right?
It
is.
Is.
Look at this insane view. I wish maybe I'll take some photos. I took some photos yesterday, and we'll drop them in the episode. But yeah, it's amazing finally get to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. It's been a long time. We've been talking for a minute. I've been seeing you from afar, and then once you started your live show, I was like, "Oh my God, we need to have a conversation." So, this has been kind of a very random form of events, which led us here. But that is van life. That's
on the West Coast.
Yeah, on the West. You're on the West Coast.
I'm still shook about it. Yeah.
I know, which we're gonna get into that as to why and how and all the things. But yeah, it's just amazing you're finally here on the West Coast.
I'm really excited to be here. I love the heat. It's like snowing over where I'm from.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to literally leave here and go north to the snow. So, but that's where my heart is. So, but I'll
let you go there. I'll stay here.
I understand your reasoning and desire to, be down here. It makes perfect sense. As we always start the show, tell us who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been on the road. And then anywhere in between, shamelessly promote yourself. Where can people find you on Instagram? Whatever.
All right. So I am Tori. I've been on the road for 3 years in my old camper van, and then I just bought my new one.
Yes. We're building out.
Yes, it's very empty right now. I feel like I'm relearning van life with this. Not only am I getting back to building, but I'm getting back to the real basics of the road, because I actually car camped for a long time before I even got a van. So I was sleeping in the front seat of a Nissan Altima, just, roughing it. And I'm back to that. And I kind of love it. And I feel like I'm relearning, what van life really is.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to get into all of those stories, because your story is quite unique in terms of, where you're from and what you did, which you didn't say where you're from technically.
So I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Between New York City and Philadelphia, right in that area. So big cities
are my... So almost 3.5 years of East Coast van life.
Yeah.
Or East Coast.
Only East Coast. I've never been out here until a week and a half ago.
I was going to say, this is your first week ever being on the West Coast. Ever.
Ever. It's more learning curves.
Which is amazing to me. Obviously, we always, I would say 97-8% of the people that have been on the show have only been in the West Coast and have no East Coast experience whatsoever. So
there's no one out there.
I know.
You're probably in the first 10 van lifers I've met.
No.
I'm not even kidding.
It's amazing though, but obviously what you've grown on the East Coast and your personal brand and the things that you've gotten exposed to have been pretty amazing, and we'll talk about those as well. But to have never experienced anything on the West is pretty insane.
It's a learning curve every day.
Okay, so you've literally only been here a week. What?
Yeah.
You've been to Vegas.
I went to Bend, Oregon.
Okay,
I had my heated floor installed with Van Life Tech.
Okay.
And then...
Amazing product.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's an insane product.
I'm so excited.
It's maybe the one thing in Althea that I didn't put in that I kind of wish I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work yet because I don't have an electrical system.
So
it's just a tease. It's just in there with me being I could be warm when I was up there in 10 degrees with no heater and an empty van on the floor.
Freezing.
I also got sick while I was up there. It was a moment. It made me question van life. You know, we all have those nights.
We have those nights. Yeah, I get it.
10 degrees when you're sick on the floor is definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure. When you have no heat and nothing in your van, no insulation.
Nothing.
Yeah, you basically just have a raw shell right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. You have floors.
I weirdly like it. Is that?
No, like I actually think it's amazing. Again, we hear about it all the time of like people just coming out and like experiencing, you know, events and things like that just with a raw van.
We don't see it enough, I think, on social media, and I like kind of want to like get a storage unit, put all my build stuff away, and maybe just try it for a while and get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, just experience like travel in it, thinking about how you would live in it, you know, or where you would want things. But you've had a van, you know.
I'm doing the exact same layout.
Are you really?
Yep.
So funny. Okay, we'll get into all of that for sure. Question one: What was the beginning moment, cause, or inspiration to live your life on the road?
I love that question.
By the way, she refused to see or look at the questions before we started this. So every one of these questions is going to be a surprise to her, which is going to be quite funny.
Taylor Swift.
Okay, wait. That was your inspiration?
My inspiration for getting on the road.
To go see her shows?
So that's how I didn't know about van life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I mean, I knew people slept in their car when they needed to. I didn't realize people did it like on purpose.
Right.
And so I went to one of her concerts and I just the traffic was bad. So I slept in my car and the next morning I woke up and I was in Miami and I was like, I could just see Miami, I guess.
Hang out.
And then I was like, I should do this more often. And then I didn't Google anything for like a solid year. I was just out there trying my best, just making it up.
So wait, okay, you did this, what, like 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
2017.
Okay, so really kind of van life was starting to come up. Like obviously van life was the thing at that time. But like, that's interesting.
But on the East Coast, it's still really not talked about.
Wasn't anything.
Here you can't drive and not know about
see
it.
A van,
yeah.
But you were doing that because you wanted to go see a show.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I just didn't want to go through the long line of people getting out of a concert.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it like every weekend in between work. And then I was working at Disney World at the time, and then I decided to work in Disneyland. So I drove across the country, and I slept in my Nissan Altima for a whole month. And I was like, I want to do this all the time.
Nice.
So then I Googled it finally.
But still, but when you got to New York City, were you still in Pennsylvania at the time?
I was in Florida when I was car camping.
Okay.
And then I car camped across from Pennsylvania to California. But then I built the van in Pennsylvania. I started out, and I've only ever been in the Northeast with the van.
Yeah.
With that van.
But you were mainly camping in New York, just like basically street living out of the van. Okay, so Taylor Swift is the reason why you're a nomad.
Somehow. Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. And there's a story that is pretty fun. We'll talk about obviously eventually that recently got picked up with your van and the colors and Taylor and the whole like Taylor Swift thing, which I think is pretty funny and amazing all at the same time, which, I mean, I get it. I mean, I saw 18 shows last summer in the van. Like, it was like, I followed the Grateful Dead the last 8 shows last summer.
That's what I should have been doing with the Eras tour.
It was
a fake fan.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I saw 3 nights in Boulder, 2 nights at the Gorge, and then 3 nights in San Francisco. And then,
oh my goodness.
And then I saw 8 shows at Red Rocks last summer.
I think Jared told me about this. He was like, you should be doing this with Taylor Swift. He was like, there's a guy who does this.
that was me.
You.
He was referencing me for sure. 100%. Yeah, no, I just learned, like, to your point, like going to a Red Rock show, like leaving Red Rocks and then just hanging out in the van after the concert while everybody like clears out is so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like to go and like decompress a little bit, like take in what you just saw.
You can make dinner, you can take a nap.
100%. Take dinner, like have a glass of wine, enjoy like what you just experienced and not have to like rush out.
Yeah.
My show like experiences were so fun this summer.
Yeah.
Like Red Rocks was so enjoyable for me this summer because I got to know actually the parking guys. They got to know like my van and they're like, oh, okay, it's just, that big gray van. It's okay. But I would stay there till like midnight or 1 a.m. and not have to like crazily get out into traffic. And
that's stressful. It's just, and then I love it.
It was awesome.
I love doing that.
So good. Taylor Swift, another reason, not only she's taking over the NFL, she has some ties
Times Person of the Year.
Exactly. She has
Van life inspiration.
Van life inspiration. She does everything. Who knew? Number 2, what has been your experience with other nomadic travelers while being nomadic, living your life on the road?
Well, until this week, I've met a total of like 5.
That's so crazy to me. Like, obviously, that's a symptom of East Coast.
Yeah.
With just not having a lot of nomads there. But, like, Yeah, that's crazy
Yeah.
to me.
It's just like Jared.
Yeah.
I met Nick from Exploration Vans.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. There's got to be more than that.
But it's so...
It's really just pretty much that.
I know, but it's so funny to me. Obviously, okay, let's use this question to tell the story of getting picked up for the pink van and the Taylor Swift story.
Yeah, so that actually originally happened because there's a guy who does tours in New York.
Okay, wait. Actually, I have a question prior to that.
Okay.
So that happened just recently, like last year.
Like a year ago, exactly.
A year ago, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. But prior to that, so you had been 2 years on the road prior to that. Were you working in New York during that time?
I was working in Vermont.
You were working in Vermont. Okay.
Yeah, in the winter.
Okay.
And like negative 20.
Yeah.
And a van that was not built for that.
Yes. Okay.
But yes, I started in Vermont was mostly where I was, and then just kind of going around traveling a little bit.
Okay. And then what took you to New York City?
It's New York City.
Well, yeah, of course.
I love New York City.
Okay.
I mean, it's always interesting. It's always something new.
I love New York as well. I love to visit New York. I can't imagine living in New York. I don't know.
I loved it. I mean, I would just like one day just like go and stand in line to see a Broadway show or like the half price tickets. And I love it. But I could never afford to live there. And so it was like I was able to have that dream that I had when I was a kid of living like in New York City without paying a single dollar.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, we're going to get into van life in New York City and what that was all about. But then let's tell the story of a year ago today with getting picked up in the whole Taylor Swift story.
So it seems like it was very natural. Like I was just walking down the road in the video and he goes, "How much do you pay for rent?" But actually I was on Instagram, I was scrolling one day and I saw one of his videos where he's like, "How much do you pay for rent?" And I was like, "Oh, haha, you should do a van tour."
Yeah.
And then I, moved on with my life. And then he messaged me and he was like, "Do you know someone with the van?" As I have like photos of me in my van on my page.
Exactly.
And I was like, I might know someone.
I might know somebody.
And then I just, met a random stranger in the middle of New York City, which is
Normal.
I met a random stranger in the middle of the desert.
Middle of, like,
that's what I do.
Exactly. But that's not uncommon for van life. Like, that's nomadic travel to a T, so that makes sense. Like, that aligns up.
My necklace calls the cops. I'm prepared for anything.
There you go.
It's, it's good. I like to say that. To say, there's women who want to travel.
Yeah.
There's necklaces that call the cops. You can prepare yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to be scared to live on the road.
That's right.
So, yeah, and I just, met him one day. He did the video, and then
like, the world saw it.
Yeah. I think it has, like... I haven't even looked at it in a while, but I think it had like 70 million views on YouTube alone last time I saw it.
So, like, I mean, for me, like, the biggest thing is, like, network news picked it up. Like, the Today Show.
Ryan Seacrest interviewed me.
Like,
Rachel Ray talked about my van. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so, I mean, obviously your van is pink and predominantly pink. And, you said it was Taylor Swift inspired and all the things. And so, her rise and your story kind of literally came... It was like perfect timing, right place, right time. But like the amount of national news coverage that you got from that story is
crazy.
Pretty insane.
It was very crazy.
Yeah. So what has the last year been like?
So that actually got me a job with Project Van Life, and I was their social media manager.
Yep.
And
that's where I first kind of got you on my radar.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people have and I got to make educational videos and talk about van life and teach people how to, live on the road. And now I'm doing van build videos.
Yep.
And it's been really great getting to like talk to people as they're starting out and like share my experiences. And that all came from just one tiny moment.
Video.
Yeah. One tiny comment. Can you imagine?
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. I mean, actually, like last night I referenced talking to my friend and going through a little bit of stuff on my own, but it was like, she was like, you should reflect a little bit over these next like month. Cause I was like, I've been on the road a year and a half. She was like, think about when you started van life. I basically had 0 followers on Instagram. I've done now 52 episodes of a YouTube show. I've started a brand focused on the nomadic travel and a brand new website, iliveinAvan.com. Like, I've done a couple things. So she was like, take a minute, and like for you, like this last year's, I imagine just been a complete whirlwind.
Van life is very different to me now than it was for those 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think social media very much so changes van life, which is interesting. And I almost feel like I have a different perspective now that I'm like doing social media than I did for like those 2 years when I like talk about it. I'm like, well, I think it's, do you know what I mean?
Well, I have a social media question. We'll get there.
Okay.
That is something
I should have read them.
No, it's okay. I definitely want to talk about that with you for sure. Question 3, what has been your biggest failure? What has been your biggest triumph while living your life on the road?
The first thing that comes to mind is I regret selling my first van.
Okay.
I love
fair.
building.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. My plans for my new van, I'm so excited about it. It's going to be so cool and so nerdy, and I love it.
It's awesome.
But I miss that van. Like, it becomes like a turtle shell, I keep calling it. Like, it's like your home. It's like a piece of you.
100%. I can't imagine not having Althea.
Yeah.
Like, I think even if I got a different rig, it'd be really hard to sell her. It's, to your point, it's an extension of you. It's your home. It's your personality. It's like where you live. Like, people, that's a really hard conversation with people, the carpet walkers of the world. A friend of mine, shout out Blakely, has dubbed them carpet walkers. So if you live in a stationary city and apartment, you're no longer a normie, you're a carpet walker. It's hard to have those conversations and explain to them like what a vehicle like this means. And like, you know, it is your home. It's where we live. And
I think like, because you have to do so much more to live your daily life, you become attached to it because like, you know, and you know where you're going to go home and go to sleep. Like, now you got to think about it. You got to do so many more things to like keep it, or even just you notice it because it takes up so much of your daily time that like it becomes a piece of you.
100%.
And I miss it all the time.
Who bought it?
So I was very picky about who I wanted to sell it to, obviously. But I also didn't want to like overprice. I think people like overprice their vans. But I found this wonderful woman who, she basically goes to people's homes and she helps guide them when like they're dying into like, you know, moving on. But she didn't want to be like in their homes and in their space, but she wanted to have her own space as well.
Nearby or
it's depressing for her as well and hard.
For sure.
So she was like, I love the pink. I love that. It made me like, feel joy when I'm coming out of that situation. And I was like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
It felt right.
Very, very cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And now your biggest triumph.
It's interesting because I feel like the easy answer would be like, oh, I got a job, you know, I get to like have this platform. But I think it just teaches you to grow so much every single day. And I think those like little things are really the triumphs of like how much like more resilient you become and how much like little things don't even get to me anymore. Like you learn to just let things go. And it just every single day feels, it's like I just feel stronger as a person. So I think that conquers all other accomplishments that go with it.
I love that. And ultimately, like, you build on those. Like, every single, like, little win you have, like, over a stretch of time, all of a sudden becomes, like, you know, such more impactful in your life, I feel like, than, you know, these big, gigantic, overwhelming kind of, you know, triumphs or whatever they are. But, like, it's that little win, you know, like people on the show reference all the time. I fixed my faucet on my own, or I discovered that leak and I found a way to fix it, you know, or like whatever it was.
I had never touched a power tool before I started my first van, ever. I had no idea what I was doing. People kept saying to me like, who's going to do that for you? Like, you're going to build that? And then like building it was like such a confidence builder. It was like, and I just feel like now I look at anything and I'm like, I built a van. Like, what can't I do?
You're
like
empowered. Like at the end of the day.
The whole, like the build and living in it every single day, I just feel like it makes you stronger.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Question 4. Did you start your life on the road as a single person? What is it like living on the road as a single person?
Yeah, I've only ever lived alone in the van.
Okay.
I sometimes have people stay with me.
Yeah.
Unless it's like my sister or my mom, it's just like, it's too small.
Yeah,
like it's
100%.
not, it's like, I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
I think you really got to love each other.
100%.
I'm sure that strengthens relationships for sure.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time on like what's the ideal dating situation nomadically. And the conclusion I think has kind of become you either design and build a rig together where you're thinking about each other and your needs, or you have separate rigs and you travel together. That's like the ideal setups. But what has been your life like dating and living in a big city nomadically? I
mean, no one wants to date someone that's moving all the time. You know what I mean? Or like they don't know when they're going to leave.
Trust me, I know.
And so it's almost like a trade-off in a way.
Yeah.
You know, like what you going to do? Like
I mean, it's definitely not easy. It's one of those things where I've actually kind of, and now it's become like something where it weeds people out for me.
Yeah.
Like if you're not even open to the concept of like how I live, okay, we're not a match, or we're gonna like work out. But like if you're curious and you're like, oh, that's interesting, like I'm at least willing to talk about it and have a conversation. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Then that's a starting point. But yeah, it gets people out of the way quickly. They're like, oh, you're homeless, or
like, no.
Oh, you're broke. No, I mean sometimes, but like Yeah, no, I'm not homeless. I have
That's not what it means, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I love it. Like, I'm proud of it. Like, even
100%.
like this with nothing in it, with just a mattress on the floor, I'm like, I love it.
Yes.
I love what I do.
I get it. I totally get it. Question 5. You're going to laugh at this one.
Am I?
It's everybody's favorite, but I can't wait to see your reaction. Where's the best place or craziest place you've had sex during your life on the road?
Okay.
I love the fact that you didn't know this was coming. You didn't look at it at all. So good.
What a question.
Yeah.
My mom has the internet.
I know. And you don't have to answer. Like, I've had people decline to answer.
Yeah?
But yeah.
I think
totally
my
up to
answer is
you.
probably going to be what people don't
I've
expect.
said location. And so the
Yeah?
question is best place, craziest place. I don't need details. Like, people have given me details, but I don't want details.
You're like, please don't
But,
overshare.
we don't have to hear what happened. I'm talking about where it was. Like, best place, craziest place.
I haven't.
There you go. That's fair.
Like, I'm just single by myself, living on the road, doing my thing.
I get
you
it.
know? Just kind of, like we were saying, dating doesn't work on the road.
Yeah. I mean, it does. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible.
You got to find someone who wants to work for it. And people, I don't know if everyone wants to work for it these days.
It's true. It's definitely true. Like, I don't know. I've said that, like, yeah, I feel like if I'm going to date somebody, they're going to be nomadic. That's going to be the easiest way.
Yeah.
Because finding somebody in a stationary city is really hard. And then making that work is even harder.
Honestly, I feel like for me with like the van, it's like, what is the purpose of living in the van? Like, when am I going to, like, when do I stop? When do I think about like the future? And I feel like I love my van and I want to live in it forever and ever.
Yeah.
If it's just me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think if I actually found someone, interestingly enough, like that would be what would get me off the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, besides that,
yeah,
it's van forever.
But at the same time, like, how great would it be to be able to blend those two together and have the van and be nomadic a lot of the years
dreaming.
or whatever. Now it's like a pipe dream.
Right.
Yeah, it's like way out of the question. Never gonna happen. No, I hear you. Question 6 is, good Lord, I haven't asked my own questions in a very long time. Why am I blanking on question 6? People on the show are going to roast me to death. I can't even think of it. I haven't done this in a minute, folks. Oh, my goodness. How do you make money while living your life on the road?
Yeah, so
Let's talk about the job.
I had different ways in my 3 years that I've made money.
Yeah.
So I originally was working a 9 to 5, and I would do it for like 4 or 5 months. I'd pick a city that I liked.
Okay.
And then I would just kind of take that fun job. I was an actress in Salem, Massachusetts during like Halloween, and I just got to like act and I got to like do like a scare job, which was cool.
Okay.
And so I just pick a fun job, and then I like live there for a few months.
Okay.
And then, I can have like enough money to be able to go travel for a little bit before I have to get another one. And I loved that.
Yeah.
I also had a small business for a long time, teaching self-defense. So that was also like a way that I made money. But now I just do social media.
Yeah. Just crazy.
Yeah, I'm still like
I mean, the
shook.
first job is very popular, like, in our nomadic community.
Yeah.
Like, doing part-time, short-term work, gig work, whatever you want to call it, is very popular. Like, go work for 3-4 months, save a bunch of money, go travel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now you've stumbled into social media. What is that like? Did you do a lot of social media? Like,
I hadn't done anything before that video.
I was gonna ask.
Like, just like a normal person's Instagram.
A couple reels or like whatever.
Yeah, it was just like your average.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was definitely like just thrown right into it.
Do you remember? Because you had a decent sized following, I feel like, before the video, or no?
I mean, like people that I knew, so like 2,000 people that I knew.
Okay.
Or just had like seen me, whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything that was
like what it is like now.
Yeah. Now it's overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally get it. Question 7 is, what is your rig? Who built it, and why did you choose it to live a life on the road?
Yeah, so I've had
the first
2.
rig? Yeah.
This one's very new. The first one was a Ram Promaster 2015 159 wheelbase.
This is a 159 as well.
The same thing.
I was going to say, you bought
They're
basically...
different colors, though.
I was going to say...
Because I wanted to be stealth, and you're seeing how that matters out here.
No, not so much. But it's just really funny you bought the exact same reel.
I loved everything about it.
Okay.
I just wanted to do another build.
Okay.
I was so excited, and now I'm like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Maybe you could have just relaxed for a minute.
Yeah.
Stop being so ambitious. But it's gonna be so great. It's Lord of the Rings themed.
That's why you laughed, first of all, hilariously at my life on the road, LOL.
I love Lord of the Rings. It's going to be like green. And I already bought like this like Harry Potter, the mirror of like Eris. Like I bought that for it.
Shut up.
It's going to be just nerd. It's just so nerdy. And I just am so excited. And I realized after I sold it, I was like, you could have just repainted it.
Yeah, exactly. You could have kept that one and reconfigured the Taylor Swift version into Lord of the Rings.
But I mean, it makes good content, I guess, building a van.
Exactly. Well, and honestly, like, talk to Jared about things like that, van tours and van content, like, from that perspective, it's huge. So, like, everything is aligning, like, for you from that perspective. So, it makes sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's nice, so.
Question 8. What has been the happiest and what has been the hardest moments of living your life on the road? Actually, no, that's not question 8. Good Lord, Chad. I'm so disappointed in myself.
Get it together.
I know, right? What is your best bathroom? Number 1 or number 2 story from life on the road?
Oh my goodness.
First of all, was there a toilet in your first rig?
There was not.
Okay.
Which people are like, oh my God, but I lived on the East Coast. Yeah. So there was always a bathroom near me, always a 24-hour something.
Yeah.
It was never a concern. So it was more of just like, I more so would get like ill, I think is more like my bad stories. And when I'm like,
throwing up or
like last week I projectile vomited across the van. Like it was not a great time.
So good. Any like pee jug stories, or I always tell people you're not a real van lifer till you've kicked or have had pee on your floor, like where you've spilled pee on your floor. I spilled my pee jug like last week.
It happens.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have one. I can think of a million people have told me, but I don't have any.
You don't have yours?
I'm trying to think like I really overthink it, and I'm like, oh my God, do not.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah,
I'm
but
like
you're
neurotic.
You're using a pee jug though in the van.
Yeah, straight up. No, for sure.
Have to. Exactly.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Exactly, 100%.
Like,
yeah, it works. But no, like, so getting sick.
I haven't ever
like,
spilled it.
Okay, interesting. Good for you.
Where's wood? I need to knock on some wood. Like,
for sure. Good for you. That's a good thing. But yeah, just really, getting sick in the van is kind of sucks.
I also, one of the jobs I took was I was a tour guide at Ben and Jerry's in Vermont.
Okay.
And I was eating ice cream every day.
That.
And I became lactose intolerant. And so I didn't learn this for a hot minute. So I would eat the ice cream, and then I'd go out to the van after work, and I'd be like and I would get not a thing you want in the van.
No, God, no. That's hilarious, though. What a cool job, though. That'd be fun. My favorite ice cream is Cherry Garcia. Not because of the Grateful Dead, but it is because of the Grateful Dead.
It's a happy coincidence.
It is a happy coincidence, but it's so fucking good. Cherries and chocolate, like, who doesn't like that? Question 9, what is the happiest and what has been the hardest moments of living your life on the road?
I think that's interesting, because I think something that like social media makes you think that like it's all highs and like lows, but there's a lot of just in the middle.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like I also think that it's just a house, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes it can make it seem like when we live in vans that it's like, it just becomes like everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just a house that I go to at the end of the day. Yeah. It's just like a means to an end kind of thing.
Yeah. But what's really interesting, though, about this question and the way you're kind of like looking at it is, and the way you've actually lived your nomadic life, is you've really been stationary in your house. You haven't actually been really traveling on the road.
Yeah.
Like, I've done 65,000 miles in a year and a half. Like, I drive a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be in Northern California, like, tomorrow. Like, you know, 7 hours, no issues, like, gone. So, yeah, like, being in one location makes it a little simpler for sure, to where you can be a little bit more middle of the road. Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, if I had to say lows, I would say probably like police knocks aren't great.
I was going to say you have to have had some good knock stories.
Yeah. I mean, so I was in Chicago, Detroit. I mix them up all the time.
Okay.
I was in one or the other.
All right.
And I was at a Walmart, and I was sleeping, and my car like starts like lifting off the ground, and I was getting towed.
You were getting towed? Oh my God.
Didn't knock, nothing. They just went for it.
Oh,
and so I like run up to the front, and I like, slamming on like the window, like, put me down.
Yeah.
And then the guy comes up, and he's covered in cameras, like here. Like, I mean, like everywhere. And I'm like,
sketch.
Not comfortable.
Yeah.
And I guess 2 people had overdosed in the parking lot that night, and there were like sirens and cops. I fell asleep with headphones on, like Bose soundproof headphones. I was vibing. I was Taylor Swift was just, and I woke up to like, there was just cop cars. I mean, this guy was towing me. It was.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson. I do not wear headphones to sleep anymore.
That's amazing. That's a good low story.
I don't really consider them like lows. I'm like, that's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
well, people have always, like, the way I wrote this question is, like, most of the time, like, their lows end up becoming, like, something, a learning experience.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, it actually became something really great and something I remember and is important to me and all those things. What would be, like, one of the happiest moments? Going to see Taylor Swift?
I did not see her on the Eras tour.
Okay.
Because I couldn't get tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I think finishing the build and, like, looking around at it and being like, and I think knowing how hard I, like, struggled with it and how many times I had problems and how many times I, like, got back out there and I, like, was like, nope, we're finishing this. We're doing it ourselves. We're not gonna. There was a time where I had seen a YouTube video where someone put, like, a battery from their drill into their Max Air fan to test it. And I was like, I'll do that. And it blew the fuse of the Max Air fan. Oh, no. It was like the first thing I did for my build, and I had no idea about fuses. I literally knew nothing. I was like, I broke the fan after I installed it, and it already has like all of the sealant on it. And I was like, I have to remove this out of. And I went on to, like, a downward spiral. Sat in my parents' basement with, like, ice cream and Buffy the Vampire Slayer for a whole week. I was like, I have to remove the fan. There's not a video on that anywhere. Like,
that's hilarious.
And then,
all it was just a fuse.
It was just a fuse, but, like, when you get back out there and you, like, you learn, like, it was just the fuse, you were being silly. Like, the next time something happens, you get, like, it's probably small.
It's not a big deal. Like, I can figure this out.
The resilience, I think, and, like, looking back on that, like, every time I walked into that van, I felt proud of myself. So I think that's just, like, I think everyone should build their vans.
I did not. It was actually something that I've actually helped someone now renovate her van. So I learned a little bit, and I've been around enough builders to kind of now know and understand and, appreciate. Yeah. Obviously, Rossmönster Vans, who built Althea, like, total, like, game changer, but I knew I didn't want anything to do with it.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Like, I'm a designer. Like, I knew I could create a cool floor plan and a cool layout, but I wanted nothing to do with putting it together. So I was like, here, boys, it's done. Just, here's the plans. Here are all the components. Just put it together.
I probably just think that because I can't afford to have someone do it.
Fair. Totally fair.
I'm just lying to myself. I'm like...
Totally fair. And I could at the time, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. So, and it was faster, way faster.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, they built this in 3 weeks.
I'm on 3 months. I have just a floor and a few framing bars.
It's so good. Question 10, in your own words, define #vanlife, and then provide a piece of advice for somebody wanting to live a life on the road.
Define #vanlife. I think I have a lot of interesting opinions on social media in general and how, like, it reflects on what van life really is. And with my YouTube channel, I try really hard to, like, not push this, like, curated thing it can be. Yeah. Which is interesting because I think some people want that curated story. They just want to, and not everyone's going to actually live it. They just want to watch it. Yep. But I think it's really important that people understand what they're getting into.
100%.
Because you're getting into a lot.
It's why I started this show at the end of the day, was to give a more realistic view of ups and downs, good stories and bad stories, hardships and really happy moments, those types of things, to really kind of showcase what van life's all about, more or less, because it is hard. It's not easy. Like, living this lifestyle is not for everybody. Yeah. So, and
it's like #vanlife might be great for some people. That's people are like, so you're homeless. Yeah. So, and not everyone's going to understand it. People are going to judge you. And then I feel like not everyone understands it. Yeah. And you got to become, and it makes you stronger again, because you're like, I am who I am and I like what I like.
This is what I want to do. Yeah. I'm doing this for a reason. Like, this is very purposeful in my life. Yeah. Makes sense.
I love that about it. But
what has been social media like now that you're, you blew up from this interview and now you got a social media job? Like, what has been like doing that for, like, basically the last year?
So I'm in a point right now where I'm taking a little bit of a back step, a little bit of a break, because
trust me, I know.
I've gotten, like, death threats. I've had, like, people stalk my family, find my address, and, like, threaten my family. I've had, like, a post.
Only imagine.
Yeah, where someone was like, just one post I did where a cop knocked on my door and I happened to actually get it on video and I posted it and they were all like, well, you didn't lock your door. Because he opened the door when I was in there, like, didn't knock, just, like, opened it. And it was just confusion. And I know he didn't have any bad intentions, but he could have. Yeah, of course. And the comments were all, you deserved it. You should have gotten hurt because you didn't lock your door. Jesus. Like, well, you're going to die and it's going to be your own fault. And it was just, like, overwhelming. And I remember, like, that was, like, 6 months ago. And I was like, do I keep doing this? Like, why am I doing this? Yeah. And then it's been a year and I'm still learning to separate myself from the bad commentary. Yeah. But the number one thing I've learned this week since I've been out here, because people on the West Coast are also different than the East Coast, and so I'm like trying to like learn and like adapt. And I've had some people who, you know, do social media, do van life, and one of them made a comment to me, and I took it really hard, and I was like, oh my God. And then I realized 100% of what people say to you is more about them than it's about you.
1,000%. Absolutely.
It's like, and then I was like, oh my God, that had nothing to do with me.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't nice, and I didn't feel great, but it had nothing to do with me.
Yeah, exactly. They were just projecting at the end of the day, and yeah. No,
I feel like I feel like the more I do this, I'm like, it hurts to learn sometimes, but like.
Yeah. There's nowhere near the amount of like comments and things that, you know, you've gone through that I've actually experienced. But like every once in a while when you have that comment and you get that negative, and it's like, I always go back to thinking about like why I'm doing it. Like I'm enjoying this. Like I started this project to have fun, to meet new people, to have a conversation, to learn about their life, and to hopefully maybe down the road help somebody else like be better or figure it out more. So like I hear like some of those things and I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you just said. Like it's so silly. Like it has no effect on me whatsoever. You know? But like death threats and shit like that, that's serious.
Finding my family's address and then like that one was scary.
That's scary. Super scary.
That was not.
And then give a piece of advice for somebody wanting to live a life on the road.
Do you know what everyone always says?
Well, yes,
everyone says, just do it. Because I used to have a podcast and I would go, just do it.
Yes, everybody on the show, that is the common answer.
Don't just do it. That's my advice. Don't just do it and then like have this like image in your mind of this. This is my first time ever having a view like this.
We just talked about this. We had a little conversation before this. And she's like, I've never had a view. And I was like, what do you mean you've never had a view?
3 years, never had a view like this.
That's why we're shooting up here, because this
Now, mind you, if you want a view, like obviously you can go out and you can find it. So obviously I just didn't want it, because I could have gotten it.
It's fair. That's totally fair.
But I think at the end of the day, like it is a lot of, like be ready for the downs and like be excited to learn from them. So don't just jump into it. Analyze. Overthink.
Have some thought going into it. Have like a little bit of a plan. But to your point, I really like the idea of like, know that there's things coming. Like there's things that you're not going to be able to deal with, or they're going to be out of the ordinary and you're going to have to find a way to deal with them. So,
I think the reason it works for me is that like I enjoy when things go wrong. And I think it's fun. And as a content creator now, I'm like, yes, it went wrong. That's great clickbait.
Exactly. That's like, I can film this. I have content for days. That's amazing. I love that.
It made me so optimistic.
It makes sense. And I get it from that perspective. For your work and what you're doing right now.
Learn to enjoy the pitfalls of it, because you're going to get them.
You're going to get them for sure.
100%.
Tori, those are your 10 questions.
Those are my 10 questions.
That was it.
That was not it. That was not it. I'm thinking, and I know you're all thinking it too, has he ever answered these questions that he knows so well? Have you ever answered them?
I have not answered these questions.
Well, look, we've got a good view.
We do.
We've got a great view. We've got some time. I'm thinking you should answer the questions. How do you feel?
We can do that.
All right.
We 100% can do that.
No, I don't have them memorized.
I know. And I obviously didn't either, for crying out loud. It was embarrassing. It's my own questions. I've said them 53 times. But, okay.
All right. Are you ready?
I guess.
All right, great.
Good Lord.
You've been preparing for this for a year, you know?
Mean, I've been doing the show for a full year, yes. And I don't need to like tell people who I am. They know my Instagram by now. They've seen it on
pitch
50.
it. Pitch it. No, go follow his Instagram.
You know what I'm actually going to pitch? I'm going to pitch iliveinAvan.com. Like I've spent the last 6 months working so hard on this website and working so hard on this brand. And I'm really excited to bring it to the nomadic community. We just launched at Moon Landing a month and a half ago. But it's iliveinAvan.com. The whole point of the brand and the website is to provide information about the nomadic community, kind of just to highlight what's going on. I want to highlight individuals. I want to highlight businesses. I want to highlight events. I want to kind of, just be a place for people to go to get information about what's going on in the community. And then we created a cool brand around it where I think people can hopefully get excited about being a nomad, like be proud to rock the emblem of the road. And just kind of a way to bring attention to the nomadic community, bring, attention to the crazy, amazingly talented nomads that are on the road doing really cool shit.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to like build that. I've been working nonstop on the website. It's up and running and live. We have a calendars page. We're having directories built. We highlight a nomad every single week. We're going to highlight a business in our event every single week also. I've created a line of clothes where we're actually partnering with other nomads and they put their designs on stuff like that. So we just released our second Design by Nomad collection this past week. So yeah, it's a project I'm really excited about. So go check out. We're going to put it right here. It'll be iliveinAvan.com.
Do you know what I really love about how you do it?
Yeah.
Is that you include people in all like spans of it. Like if you're not in a van yet and you want to be in a van,
100%.
and I think community is like, as someone who's not had a community of van life and is like getting it for the first time, I think it just it elevates the experience, and I think it's so important.
And I mean, it was why I kind of started this show, but then it's why I've now created the brand. Was the community is what I fell in love with. It's why I'm still on the road. It's what will keep me on the road. And really coming across all these amazing people that I've met over the last year and a half has really changed my life. I've met now people that I can genuinely say will be friends for life. And they've just made a lasting impression on me. And this is kind of my way, as a creative to kind of give back to the community or do something positive for the community.
Yeah,
so
I love that. And I feel like after you live in a van for a while too, it's like, I'm sure you've seen, a lot of views like this, but it's just better when you're with a community of people and you 100%. Can experience, because I mean, after a while, the Grand Canyon's just like, a bunch of rocks,
Exactly.
But if you go with someone, you build a community and you have people to share it with.
Yes.
It's unmeasurable.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
So I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, iliveinAvan.com or I live in a rig on Instagram. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. It's not about living in a van. It's about being a nomad on the road. So if you live in a bus, if you live in a vanagon, if you live in a schoolie, if you live in a whatever, go and there's stuff for you on the website.
Or even temporary. You don't even have to be full-time.
You don't have to be. Yeah,
there's no rules to this.
There's no rules to this. People that live in Airbnbs, people that live in tiny homes, people that, travel part-time. You guys are all nomads in my book. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, you ready for your first question?
Good Lord, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
What was the beginning moment, cause, or inspiration to live your life on the road? And how long have you been doing it?
Okay, so I've been on the road a year and a half. I was living in Seattle during the pandemic. I had just gotten divorced right before the pandemic. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have any kids. I was freshly divorced and, had no ties to anybody or any place. I moved to Seattle blindly and was living there just because I wanted to be close to the mountains and the water, and Seattle's a really cool city. And actually, it was a friend that made the suggestion of like living in a van. And my first gut reaction was, fuck no. Hell no. I'm not living in a van.
Why was that your reaction?
Just because of like all the stereotypes that you hear of like, no, like the van down by the river, like, the SNL skit, like, it was not something that was even on my radar. Like, I really even didn't know or like care about hashtag van life. Like I wasn't like looking at it. And then like a week later, that same friend was like, hey, I think you can build your own. And I was like, huh. The designer in me, that like the light bulb went on.
Yeah.
And then I kind of that year, it was 2020, and I was all in. And I was like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, but the crazy thing is, from when Althea got finished and done, I never stepped foot in a van. So I didn't do, like, all my research was just design based.
Do you regret that? Do you wish you would have?
No, the layout is perfect for me.
Do you think your past in design is why? Do you think other people
100%.
Who did not have should step in this?
Yes, 1,000%. Don't do what I did. Like, I've been an interior designer, space planner for, years and years and years. So I got the interior footprint of a Sprinter and then just started drawing. And that process over time, and it was a long process. Like I was designing for like a year, getting all the components, getting all the, the fridge and all the things that I wanted. And, when I actually finished and was ready to go to Rossmönster, like Ross laughs all the time. And he's like, you're the only client we've ever had where we didn't do anything. I had full drawings, full plans drawn up. Like they built this to the square inch of what I drew. And I had like all the specs of every component that was going in it, all the serial numbers, like where to
Who
get
did
it
your
from.
van?
Rossmönster Vans.
Okay. Remember that if you want to do that, because not all van builders do that. Sometimes they just want to like cookie cutter, send it out.
Well, and
that's awesome.
I reached out to 2 or 3 van builders because to your point, like we were talking about it, like I could afford to have a builder build me a van, and I wanted to go that route. And so like I had cash in hand, like going to these van builders and being like, here, I'm ready, build it for me. And I had 2 people turn me down and be like, we don't want to build that. And I was like, you're literally turning down a...
It's a turnover time now, I've learned.
Well, it's not even that, but also they didn't want to build the creative floor plan that I created. They didn't want to do something truly custom or one-off.
Yeah.
And Ross was like, bring it. He was like, this is cool as shit. We want to build this.
I love that.
Yeah. So
I love when like there's like passion in the build, you know?
And that was something like I fed from those guys, like Ross and Andrew and Luke, everybody there, they were just excited about the concept of this van.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want somebody that's going to work with me, because I knew everything wasn't like perfect. And there were like little teeny tweaks that they were like, hey, this could be better if we do it this way. And so it was that like back and forth, which has been my design process my entire life. And that's how design works. And so it was fun to find a partner that was willing to go down that road with me.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So, yeah.
Can I stray from the questions and ask another question?
You can.
Okay. As from your design perspective,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to someone who's designing their van?
Yeah. Create a list of must-haves and then create a list of wants. You might get all of your must-haves and you will only get a third of your wants. Like, it's just, that's the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then also, like, I think we were talking about this before. I think it's really helpful to get a raw van, nothing in it, and spend some time in it. Whether it's parked in your driveway and you sleep in it for a week or 2, put a mattress in it, spend some time walking around it, spend some time thinking about how you're going to move in the space. Like, it was very purposeful how the Althea is laid out, how I knew I would cook, how I knew I would work, how I knew I was going to need and want the shower.
Yeah.
Like, and they were all strategically placed about how I live my life. So I think having a van that's just a raw shell and you can spend some time in and think about where you want stuff. Like, where am I going to put my clothes? How am I going to get dressed in the morning? Like, what's your day-to-day like? You know?
I think even car camping taught me that, because you still have to think about it. And then I learned what I didn't need. Like, what can I live without? What am I not really using?
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. So
sure.
I agree.
Okay.
All right. Number 2.
Okay.
What has been your experience with other nomadic travelers while living your life on the road?
I mean, absolutely incredible. Life-changing. Truly, truly, honestly life-changing. It's why I've created the show. It's why I'm so excited about everything that I'm doing, you know, in my own life, you know, business-wise, because it's all been focused on the nomadic community. I've made easily the deepest, most important friendships of my life now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, I'm not young. I'm 45 years old. And I've moved around a lot. I've lived a lot of places in the US. But like, meeting and experiencing this nomadic community, I've met some of the closest friends that I've genuinely met in my life that will be that way forever.
Is it difficult getting close to people and always leaving?
Yeah, I think you get used to it. Like, that's what being a nomad's all about. Oh, that's just my screen. That's okay. We're still recording. We're good. This has happened a few times. I'm pissed if that shuts off. Yeah, it's always hard to like, but you know you're going to see them again. And like, I have a perfect example. Pack the Bus. You know, they are very close friends of mine. You know, like, I love them dearly. But we haven't seen each other all that often. But like, when we do get together, it is so nice to spend time and like really get to know them and really spend time with them. But then when we go apart, like, we're observing each other in the work that we're working on, either on Instagram or like whatever medium you're keeping in touch with, text messages, whatever. We always joke, like, we know what's going on in each other's lives. And then when we come together, it's like, oh, you've been working on this project. Tell me what's going on. Like, I want to hear all about that. I saw it from afar, felt like I was there, but now I want to know details.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I feel like that is how the nomadic community really functions. And then the van meetups have been a big part of it. I talk about it all the time, and we've talked about it all the time on the show, is I say it all the time, van meetups are the woven fabric of this community. It's like what, if you want to go get 50, 60, 100 friends immediately, go to a meetup and you'll make 100 friends. Like, it just is the way it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, other nomads, like, it's been really, truly, truly, truly life-changing. So yeah.
That's awesome. All right, number 3.
Okay.
What is your biggest failure and your biggest triumph while living your life on the road?
Oh, good Lord. It's so weird getting asked these questions. My biggest failure, I think my biggest failure has been maybe not taking care of my mental health. That's actually been maybe my biggest struggle since starting life on the road.
Yeah.
I've been very open and honest about last winter, about really struggling, but it's been those struggles that have kind of been able to push me through and, let me to go further into my own personal journey. So it's been a benefit. I wrote this question the same way, like your hardships ultimately become your triumphs, or your failures ultimately become your triumphs. But yeah, like not having or paying attention to my mental health was probably my biggest failure. But then my biggest triumphs have been like literally working through all those.
Yeah.
I did a 10-day Vipassana retreat last spring that has changed my life, and meditation now is a huge part of my life. So it's like taking those things that, or even like focusing on, my own physical health and those types of things. That gets really tricky on the road, like being able to work out and yes, you can just go run or bike and do all those things, which I do.
Even cooking and making meals.
Yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah.
eating healthy and eating clean and those types of things sometimes becomes a challenge. You can get into a really quickly downward spiral of like eating poorly or like,
Yeah.
not working out or taking care of your health. And I've really ebbed and flowed quite a bit up and down the last year and a half. So that's easily probably been the hardest part. But then again, like getting back on track or discovering that I need to be paying attention to my mental health and like focusing on my mental health, those have all been like really, really, really positive things. So
What would be your advice to someone who's like also living in a van and struggling with mental health and learning all of that?
Find multiple ways in which you can deal with the moments when you're down. Like you can't have one, right? You can't have I have one friend I rely on, or I have one family member that I call. Like, it's almost not good enough. Like, I feel like you need to have, I like to, a lot of tools in your toolbox when it comes to mental health. For me personally, like, I want to have multiple different things, whether it's meditation or it's working out or whether it's, photography is really a good thing for me, like mentally. Like, I'm in a creative funk right now and I've been posting quite a bit about it. And I keep telling myself I'm shooting my way out of this funk. Like I'm literally just taking a photo, even if it's a shitty photo, I'm just taking a photo to kind of creatively work my way out of this. So yeah, I think it's having multiple different ways in which you can remind yourself or get that motivation or get that help that you need in that moment of need. That you're not relying on one thing or like, a few things. Like have as many as you possibly can. Because living in a van, you're going to have them. Like, it's going to come. Like, that's going to come. It's also freezing right now. It is getting chilly. Are you getting cold?
I'm from the East Coast. I'm from the Northeast.
It's getting chilly. Okay, we're good.
I was just sleeping 10 degrees.
I know. And I'm about ready to go up north into the snow, so. But anyway.
It's preparing you.
I know.
All right, question 4. Did you start your life on the road as a couple, single person, and what is it like living on the road as a couple or single person?
I started it single. I am still single, yes. Yeah, I had just gotten divorced, or I got divorced actually like 3-4 years before I got in the van.
That's super common.
Yeah.
It's crazy common.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it wasn't ever anything that I like thought that I was going to do because of the divorce. It just happened to be like that. But yeah, no, I've been single. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit in, your question, like dating on the road's a challenge. It's not easy to do. Yeah, obviously ideal situation would be to find somebody in a rig and date on the road together, travel together, or go apart together, come back together, like whatever it looks like. But having that, common communication that like you can go apart and come together and spend time when you want be creatively apart if you have to. Whatever it is, I think that's the ideal setup. But but that's hard to find. It's a very small pool.
Very small.
Very small pool.
Very small.
Very small, yes.
Oh my goodness. Question 5.
Yep.
Question 5.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Best place or craziest place? I mean, the reason I have this roof rack is for a reason, for sure. One of the reasons.
Where is this going?
Yeah, the roof rack for sure is a place. I don't know. Sedona is a wonderful place. There's really pretty places in Sedona. Telluride's a wonderful spot. I'm just recalling past experiences. Yeah, I mean, there's so many beautiful places. Anywhere I don't know. I mean, there's a few, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
Flagstaff is really pretty.
You're just talking about places, but you're not.
I'm just naming places at this point in time.
It's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's no crazy. I'm trying to think of a crazy place. I mean, I don't know. Just out in nature is not
Does your
crazy.
mom watch these?
Yeah, this is what it is. She knows for sure. She's not blind to the fact that. Yeah, I mean.
So funny. My grandma watches all my videos, so even when I curse,
I'm
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Grandma. I love it.
All right, question 6.
Yep.
How do you make money while living your life on the road?
Oh God. So I have 5 different companies at this point in time. So my Instagram handle is Bearded Van Life. All my companies are bearded something. It has now become who I am, what I am. I love my beard. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's personal branded. But I have a small rental property in Park City that I have and use. I have a design consultant company. So I've been a landscape architect and land planner for almost 20 years. And I consult in that field as well as interior design. So I have a design consultant company, Bearded Designer. I've been a professional photographer now for 4 years. So I've been shooting professionally in all kinds of fields, truly freelance from that perspective. But Bearded Image is another company. And then the little YouTube show isn't making money yet, but it will hopefully someday. And then we just launched I live in a van.com. So that's the new brand, new company. So
you're busy.
So I have a couple things going on.
Just a couple.
Things. Hello, sir. Yeah, so it's just a few things going on, to say the least. But I don't know. Have always been a creative entrepreneur or a designer from that perspective. So anything creative, anything, along those lines, I'm drawn to. And also too, when I see little gaps or things that aren't talked about, I'm like, ooh, that could be an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the nomadic brand or coming up with a nomadic brand, that didn't exist. Or there wasn't a really great website in my mind that talked about the community and the brand. And I was I think I could do that. And so, there are websites out there and there's great resources, but I wanted to also provide one and felt like I could. So, I don't know. So, I do a lot of different things.
Is there more on the horizon? Or are you what is your focus and what is your future plan?
At this point, I have so many.
You can't add anything more to the plate.
I know. Actually, that's what I talked about last night with my friend. I have a lot on my plate and I need to focus on a couple things. Photography is going to be a focus for me a lot in 2024. Obviously, I live in a van.com will be a major focus as well. But photography is going to be, I'm going to really push a lot more into the photography world. I'd love to grow my business on the photography side in 2024. So that'll be a huge focus, I think. But I have some other ideas that I'm just going to put on the back burner.
It's the entrepreneur brain. It's always circling, always going.
Oh my God, my notes list of creative things that I want to do is stupidly long. So and then a great idea came up last night. I'm going to entertain it for a minute. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah.
All right, number 7.
Question 7.
What is your vehicle? Who built it? And why did you choose it to experience your life on the road?
Althea is, and if people don't know by now, Althea is a Grateful Dead song. I am a small Grateful Dead fan. You've seen me
What?
wear this. I've worn this T-shirt on many, many episodes. Althea's a Grateful Dead song. She is a 170. She's a 2022 170 extended 4x4 from Mercedes.
Would you change that?
I don't think so. Now that I've been in the community a minute, like, I mean, I'd build something stupid, like a Unimog or like some crazy rig. Like, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
My advice to everybody is probably buy a Ford because they're reliable and easy to work on, and maintenance isn't as crazy, and they're all-wheel drive now. Mercedes are a little bit more notoriously expensive to work on. Rams are just unreliable, sorry.
I know it's the worst choice for van life.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst.
I do city van life, so it's fine for me. I'm
you're not
out
driving,
here.
correct. Yeah, your transmission isn't going to blow just yet. It will down the road.
I'm in denial.
It will down the road. Like this was also too, I mean, I love the, I drive a lot. And so I wanted a vehicle that was like super comfortable to drive. Like Mercedes has figured out like the driver's cockpit and like sitting in a driver's seat for long periods of time behind the windshield. So like it's very comfortable to drive 10, 12 hours in a day. And I can do that. And I do that a lot. So that was something that I knew I was going to drive and move around quite a bit. So having a really super comfortable, like, cockpit from Mercedes is really, really great. So that was kind of in my head also. And I also wanted the 4x4. Like I really liked their 4x4 system versus the Ford, versus Ram has a 4x4 system, maybe. But I just wanted that 4x4 system.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8.
Okay.
What, in front of all these people, is your best bathroom number 1 or number 2 story from your life on the road?
So everybody on this show knows this question. Like, I'm a huge composting toilet, like, fan. Like, the cassette toilets are awful. They're terrible. Like, use them because they're small and compact. But yeah, they're a disaster. They're a mess. So yes, I started with a composting toilet, and that's the only way I was going to ever go. And I have an Airhead composting toilet, not a Nature's Head composting toilet. So those are the two major manufacturers. And it was really a function of design for me, the choice, because it was the smallest footprint to fit in the van. Horror stories. I just had a pee jug horror story this week. Emptying the damn thing. Like, I get actually, like, I recently did an interview with a friend. I can't remember who did it. Maybe it was Kylie that told me, I didn't realize the pee jug had a cap. And I never have had a cap. And she was like, what the hell do you mean you've never had a cap? She's like, I spill it all the time. Like, it'll like be like full, completely full. And I'll have to like walk it down the aisle of Althea and I'll bump the cabinet and spill it. And it's a disaster. Yeah, that happened.
Have you considered changing it?
It's not that sometimes I just forget. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's really full. And yeah.
Taking notes on things not to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's happened once, and if anybody owns a composting toilet, there's like a little trap door that you have to open for the solids. Make sure that trap door is
I've heard
open.
that. It was kind of,
Yeah, that was a bad night. That was a rough one. I was like, oh shit. No
literally.
Literally. No pun intended. Yeah, I was like, fuck. God damn it.
Gosh.
That happens one
once
time.
And you never let it happen again.
Yeah, so yeah, open the trap door for the composting toilets. Yeah, so that was a bad one.
All right, number 9.
Yep.
Describe the happiest and hardest moments during your life on the road.
Hardest is easy. Hardest was last winter. Hardest was getting in a really bad mental place. That's what I want, like, people watching this show to understand. Like, it's super easy to get into like a really bad mental funk. Like, and I discovered that last winter, and I wasn't prepared for it at all. Shout out Matt from Good Vibes. Man, he saved me with giving me Vipassana, and me discovering meditation, because I don't think without it, I'd still be on the road, realistically. Yeah, so that was easily the hardest moment for me. People reference all the time, like, breaking down. Althea broke down in the first month I had her. brand new Mercedes broke down.
Well, let me say, I had it for 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, see? Exactly. It happens. It was a part that failed, but everybody's going to break down. And like, but to your point, like you just figure it out. Like those moments are going to come and you're patient with yourself and you're resilient. You can get through those moments. And then, you know, we figured it out. Learned how to tow Althea.
People
It was
in
very
houses
interesting.
still have problems.
100%. It's the
So,
same
like,
thing.
yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Yeah, towing Althea is very unique. A regular tow truck can't handle her.
Oh.
She's too tall. I thought she'd be too heavy. She's 11,000 pounds. And the tow truck driver got out of his truck and started laughing, like hysterically laughing. And I was like, what? And I was like, is she too tall or is she too heavy? He's like, no. He's like, you're too tall. He's like, we'll hit every bridge on the way down to Salt Lake City.
Oh.
And didn't think about that. By the time
How tall is it?
11'9" to the top of the box.
You're a foot taller than mine is.
Yeah. So, 11 foot 9 inches. So he was like, by the time I put you 4 foot on the truck, he's like, we'll hit every bridge on the way down. I was like, oh, shit.
Well, at least he noticed.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like,
Because some people might not have noticed.
that would have been a bad day. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so yeah, it's the hardest part for sure was my mental health and like going through those struggles. Happiest, I don't know, seeing views like this, like, you know, being out in nature. I started van life with the idea of early I wanted to go see and experience things that in the United States that I had never seen, especially the West Coast. I'd spent most of my life in the Midwest or the South, but my heart was in the mountains. As a kid, I came to the mountains. My grandfather was a coach for the Broncos, and I spent a lot of time in Denver. And I skied like every chance I got and like grew up kind of in the mountains, but never really lived in the West. And so I was like, the van's the opportunity for me to like go see places that I've never experienced. I've seen photographs of Jackson Hole and, you know, all the national parks. And
does it ever get old?
No, God, no. No, it really doesn't. Like, this is a new spot. Like, I've never really experienced, you know, we're kind of like right outside Las Vegas and kind of in the Death Valley area. And it's fucking beautiful. You know, it's stunning. And it's something where like you'll drive down a road that you'd never driven down before and some beautiful view or beautiful drive will blow your mind. And that never gets old. That is really fun and really, you know, I love experiencing that.
Yeah.
And having the option to, you know, pick up and be like, I'm going to go this place today. I want to go see this. Yeah. And I can just go.
Yeah. Nothing's stopping you.
Exactly. So
it's beautiful.
Sorry we're losing light, but the view is really good.
Gorgeous.
It's so good. I'll do a little work in post. It'll be okay. So.
All right. Number 10.
Yeah. Last question.
Final question. In your own words,
Jesus.
how would you define #vanlife? And what is a piece of advice you'd give to someone wanting a life on the road?
I love that you're reading these word for word. It's so funny. I love them. Like, I've never read them like as I wrote them, so it's so good hearing that. God, I've asked this question a million times, and #vanlife, like, I wrote it as kind of that joke because everybody that lives on the road, like, we all laugh at #vanlife, but we all use #vanlife. Like, everybody posts something on Instagram and they tag #vanlife, but it's not our real life. It's not like how we live. You know, it's a glorified version. And it was one of the reasons why, again, like I started the show was so that people that were like looking at Instagram knew that that isn't really what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a broken record when I talk about this question. Is like, as a photographer, we go to those places, we take these beautiful images, we experience that, but it's not our everyday life. It's not like you live in a city and stationary and, you know, your life was very different. I drive around and am constantly on the move. And then there's everything in between. You know, you're one extreme, I'm the other extreme. And there's so many different versions in between. But I think the biggest takeaway that I wanted people to realize, like with the show and this question, was it's hard. Like, it's a #vanlife, and living nomadically is not an easy lifestyle. And so be prepared. And maybe that's my piece of advice. I'm rolling into it, is that like, you're going to struggle. And be prepared for those struggles. Like, it's not, as my friend Sierra says, butterflies and rainbows, like, all the time. Like, you're going to go through, like, hard things and hard times in your rig. And to, like, before you get on the road, know that those are coming. And, like, have a little bit of like foresight, that like mental preparation for like those really difficult times.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be there. And I didn't really like, I think hashtag van life gives that glorified version where people think, oh my God, like it's, you know, throw the back open to the doors and have that beautiful view and blah, blah, blah. And they see all the pretty photos. And that's just a small portion of our life. Like the day-to-day living in our road of like, where do I get water? How do I dump my trash? Like, you know, getting food, like parking overnight in a strange location, and like all those things, they are stressful,
Yeah.
you know, and they build anxiety, and like you worry about that stuff. And so like trying to shed light on really that aspect, I think has been really the main focus of this question and maybe the whole entire channel.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then, yeah, my piece of advice, I'm gonna say, like everybody else has said on this show, just do it. No, I mean, yeah, I want people to come. I want people to experience what I have been fortunate to like experience. You know, this community and this lifestyle, and these people are so genuine and they're so welcoming, and they're wonderful. I can't say it enough. I can't like speak to how wonderful the community is enough. And yeah, I want more and more people to get involved. And, you know, I tell people all the time, reach out, ask questions to me. It's the reason why I put Instagrams on the channel, is like reach out, ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, if you find somebody you relate to, they're gonna answer your questions. They're gonna be there for you. Oh, I think it was just that. Yeah, we're still recording. Okay. This has happened a few times. People know on this show this has happened. I do not want this episode to go away. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is I want more people to come out and enjoy this. So I'm hoping iliveinAvan.com can shed some light on that. You know, go to the website, learn more, see what other people are doing, those types of things. Check out all the events that are going on. Events are a great way to come out and experience it too. Like, you don't have to be a nomad, but you can go to an event, bring your car, bring your tent. You know, we're going to welcome you no matter what. Come see what it's all about, and then have an idea. Like, you know, have a plan getting into it. Yeah, maybe that's another good piece of advice, is don't just jump in, similar to what you said. Like, have a little bit of a plan,
I
some
think
little bit of a foresight.
play devil's advocate a little bit on it.
I
Don't
love
look scared.
That. No, I love that.
I think there's a lot of people who, you know, they spend a lot of money to get these vans and build them out, and you build for months and months, and you get on the road, and there's a lot of people who, you know, they get on the road, they don't like it, or they do it for just like 3 or 4 months, and then they're like, nope, not for me. And it's a big time commitment. It's a big money commitment. What would your advice be to someone trying to avoid that being them?
Yeah. Well, I think if you're questioning, or if you're not 100% like, this is what I want to do. Like I mean, it wasn't for me. I just wanted to build a cool rig, and then I knew I could figure out how to live on the road. And that's what I've done. But to the person that's like questioning whether or not, I maybe want to do it, I'm not quite sure, is to go to an event and experience the event. Experience the community and see if the people is what you relate to. See if the way the community functions is the way you relate to those individuals. See if you have fun. See if you enjoy looking at other people's vans. Go to an expo and start to like look at other people's builds and things like that. So I think like finding ways to discover what the community is all about and learn as much as you possibly can before. And again, you don't have to just buy a rig and then throw yourself into it. You can slowly work your way into it via events or expos. Such a cool little rig.
It is really cool.
So yeah, I think that is the best way to kind of dip your toes into it. And ask questions. Like, there's tons of nomads out here. There's been 53 episodes of this show. Go back, find somebody you relate to, reach out to them on Instagram and ask questions. Like, they're going to be there for you no matter what.
And speaking of which, this is the 53rd episode, right? This is like a year of episodes.
This is, now that we've done this and like we've talked about it, I've answered the questions. Ultimately, this is probably going to be the season finale of season 1. Yeah, so a full year of shooting.
It's pretty crazy.
It's pretty crazy to think about. Yeah, this was a pipe dream a year and a half ago. You know, a few friends, Jared in particular, Nikki in particular, you know, really pushed me to do this. And I did it obviously to learn and teach myself to do video a little bit more, but also to kind of give something back to the community, and this is a way I got to do it. And it's been so fun.
What have been some of your favorite moments? Favorite interview moments?
Favorite interview
I'm
moments?
your favorite interviewee, obviously.
No, meeting you has been super dope. Like, this has been on the horizon for me for a minute with you, which is great. So finally meeting you has been awesome. But I've had some other fun, like, we've got to interview in some really fun, funny locations.
Yeah?
Like, even the early days, I remember, like, the first, like, 4 or 5 episodes I shot. Jess's episode is pretty funny. Well, Jess is a hilarious human being to begin with, but where we shot that episode was so ghetto. It was like in a back of a Motel 8 parking lot in a
Very van life.
dirt lot, like where their trash was. It was almost like a trash area. And it was like, if people could have seen like what we were looking at in front of her van, there was trash everywhere. Yeah, that was a really funny episode. But then I've shot in some really epic locations.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's been the conversations. Like, that's what I've enjoyed the most of all this whole entire process, is really just sitting down and talking to everybody and having these genuine conversations. It's been really, really, really fun. And we're going to do a season 2. For sure. So actually, season 2, I'll throw this out there right now. I'm going to end up doing I'll do another episode. There'll be another mini episode in season 1. But I want you guys, the viewers, to start putting questions that you want to hear for season 2. So we're going to redo the 10 questions. I may keep a couple of them from season 1, but I want a new set of 10 questions that will become season 2. So that's the idea. So if you have questions, or you have questions that you want to hear on this show, leave them in the comments below, and then we'll start to build those questions. And then season 2 more than likely will be coming this spring. So I'm going to give myself the winter. I need a little break. So, and then, yeah, season 2 will be back. So we'll do season 2 here soon. So, but I'm excited about it. So
it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing this, for asking these questions. Like, this has been absolutely amazing. I'm going to go get a sweatshirt on because I'm freezing right now. And then we're going to enjoy the rest of this sunset. And maybe we're going to go in the hot springs. The hot springs are right there.
I was like, is there not hot springs here? There's a moment where I was like,
right there.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah, we're going to go in the hot springs. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in season 2. Bye. Go ahead. Perfect. Yeah. Did you get a chance to look at the questions?
I did.
Okay, perfect.
Though I have a thing where I don't like to read questions too much and like think about it.
But I always want people to know them in advance. Yeah. Like, it's not something I'm like trying to like spring on you.
Don't do it. Give me like.
Like, and then yeah. So like once we start, I don't cut anything.
Gotcha.
There's not a single edit. So that's also one of the fun parts, is like I've always.
So I didn't completely look at the little questions, just so you know. I didn't want to.
You don't want to look at them?
I've done a lot of interviews in my life, and I know if I read the questions, I grew up doing pageants, so I like know.
Are you sure?
When they gave me the questions ahead of time, I always bombed them.
Really?
So
that's so funny. It's really funny because Jared, he was the same thing. He was like, I don't want to know the questions in advance. And I was like, okay. And then we got to like question 4, and he was like,
maybe I
should have gotten these in advance. Yeah, about to start. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, right? Okay.
Just use like stick figures and draw.
No, I can't even see stick figures. It's like black. It was like dark. You
can just doodle it, you know? Animate.
I had to like work so hard in post to like even make the last 3 minutes like workable. But I didn't want to reshoot the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I feel bad. Sorry, Miranda. We'll cut this in the outtakes. Sorry, Miranda. That episode's great though. But yeah,
oh my goodness.
Just how it works. But holy shit, look at this.
I know.
It's so nice. The hot springs are actually, so we went in last
night.
night.
Are they actually hot?
Oh yeah.
Okay, great, because it's cold right now. So
I know. No, it's like 100 degrees. It's amazing.
What?
Yeah. Oh, they're perfect. And it's like a muddy bottom. It's cool. But I would recommend and suggest, we went in at night last night.
Yeah?
Like pitch black, stars out.
Okay.
Fucking insane. Yes. So if you, it'll be dark in like an hour.